Learning to be sovereign. June 13, 2016. Dear ones, perhaps some of you recently released others with thoughts of, did I say the right words? Did they misunderstand me? Yet, you feel a freedom you have not felt for some time. The freedom of self-love. The freedom of releasing those no longer of your frequency or in 3D terms, interested in the same direction as you. The thought of losing anyone has been a difficult sensation for most of you throughout this transition. Much like being in a marriage that is not right for you, if I capitulate on this piece, maybe he/she will return physically or emotionally. Thoughts encouraging someone to return to or remain in your life, but not directed to what you need or deserve. So it is, during the past few days, you have dared to declare yourself a sovereign being no matter the consequences. A stance that has many of you in a quandary, for it is so new. You feel as if you have become a desert island with no one to interact with. In truth, your actions and words are forays into a self-love, self-worth that is so different from your eons of trying to fit in that you play the interactions over and over in your head to ensure you were right in declaring your sovereignty. For eons, you had no difficulty dumbing down to fit within your family or culture. Anything was acceptable as long as they remained in your life, that is acceptable to them, for they demanded specific actions and words that were neither for you or by you. You have come to a joy crossroads that you did not envision when you first decided to love yourself, the crossroads of self-worth. Do I dare be me, knowing that the consequences might be loneliness? Or do I continue the charade of fitting in by denying who I am? Many of you have decided to do both. Such is perfectly fine, just as an infant often crawls and walks in the same time period. Do not berate yourself for not walking the minute you decide to do so. But instead, observe yourself and yes, reward yourself for even daring to stand up in whatever fashion. Do you remember the smiles of joy your infant displayed the first time they stood up on their wobbly little legs? They did not berate themselves for not being able to walk, much less run. They were merely filled with joy that they could stand. So it is for you now. Much of your self-worth has been divided between pleasing others and berating yourself for not doing more, whatever more is to you. Neither is a joyful stance. It is time to reward yourself within yourself for every step forward. For you are now performing your wobbly first stand. Allow that to be. Instead of berating yourself for not doing more, reward yourself for daring to stand. And so it is you will begin to value yourself. Some of you are telling yourselves that it is too difficult to take that first step into joy, that you cannot tell others how you truly feel, for you have done so in your previous earth lives to very unpleasant results. So it is your memories returning you to being what others need and want, but denying yourself. What you perhaps have not yet internalized is that those persons, those actions have been placed before you by you, to encourage you to step into joy despite past thoughts and current fears. They are your allies in self-love, even though they feel and act opposite. You acknowledge that your life is a drama or comedy you create, and that you bring certain players into your drama or comedy to hone your skills, as was true with your family in this lifetime. For many of you had very unpleasant childhoods, not because you had to, but because you wanted to clear certain elements before transitioning into 5D. And so you have. Now it is time to extend that shift to those you no longer resonate with in your current being. Perhaps they will return at a later date, perhaps not. But that hope is not part of stepping into joy. This is a selfish time for you, just as is true for an infant. An infant does not thank his or her parents for allowing him to learn to walk or talk. That infant merely focuses on doing so. So it is for you now. Your focus is self-love. You are reviewing interactions with others to actualize that focus. Are they filled with love and fun, a direct route to joy? Or are they filled with compromise, capitulation, and fear of being wrong? It does not matter what others are thinking or feeling. Demonstrating self-love is all that matters now. For you have gone so far astray from self-love that you need to focus on it, just as is true for an infant learning to stand or walk. Have you observed how an infant practices the various stages of learning to stand from rolling on his or her blanket until it can easily turn over, to crawling, to that first adventurous stand without you holding his or her fingers? It is not an overnight accomplishment, even though it appears to be for those who have not observed the various stages. So it is for you now. Allow yourself to move through the stages of returning to self-love without angst, self-anger, or fear. You will act when it is right for you to act. And you will know when that time arrives by the same little inner voice that encouraged you to stand and walk years ago. Love yourself enough to know you are moving into love at the pace right for you. Infants do not select a standing up or walking day. Each infant declares themselves ready when they do so. It just so happens that most infants are ready at a similar time, give or take a few weeks. And so it is for you. You are all moving in a similar direction in a similar time, but not the same time. Allow yourself to grow at your pace, no one else's. For if you try to be like someone else, you are again shifting from self-love to societal control. So be it. Amen. Channeled by Brenda Hoffman. www.lifetapestrycreations.com